What's up YouTube, I'm Mike and today I'm back with another Mint update. Before we get started with this video, let me just say this video is for educational purposes only. This is not an attempt to glorify the use of anabolic steroids. Do not break the laws in your country. Do not do anything stupid. Do not follow anything I am saying. I am purely reporting on my own personal user experience. Also, before we get started with the video, I've got my visor back on because I was reading in the comments section the other day, somebody was triggered by my hat. So, hat's back just for you. Today we're talking about Mint again. And finally, after over a month now, I have nothing but good news to report. I have finally gotten a handle on the Mint, and I believe things are about to start changing in a massively positive way. So, I attribute the new positivity with this cycle to two factors. Obviously, number one, having an estradiol level 2 times the top end of the normal reference range is not a good thing and has caused me quite a bit of misery on this cycle. I'm not going to get into rehash all of the details, but my estrogen was blown just completely out of line, and my prolactin was crashed. So I have been pounding Caber. I think I'm up to 5 or 5.5 milligrams of Caber this week. So I keep saying Caber. 5 or 5.5 milligrams of Arimidex this week alone, trying to drive this estrogen down as quickly as possible. I am not taking any Caber to get my prolactin to recover. I'm very happy to report that even in the absence of the Caber, I am not having any of the typical miserable, horrible, terrible depression that I can get sucked into. We're still not far enough into the absence of that drug to really count that yet, but the good news is that it has not returned yet. The second thing, and I think the most important thing for this Mint acetate cycle, is that I have now switched to twice daily injections, and that has been absolutely game changing. Every single negative side effect that I was experiencing with the Mint previously is now gone. It is definitively proven at a bare minimum in my body that once a day is absolutely not is not a frequent enough injection. I talked about this in a previous video. Apparently the half-life of Mint is very short. One of the videos or one of the articles that I read actually recommended penning Mint every 6 hours. It is highly likely that within the next 7 days, I am going to go to that dosing protocol. Right now, today, I feel really good, but I won't start feeling the crash of the Mint in my system for another maybe hour or two. I did pretty good with it this afternoon, so if I can continue to feel good on twice daily injections, then obviously I'm gonna stick with the minimum amount possible, because I certainly don't like pinning that many. I don't want to pin myself multiple times a day. To reiterate really quickly what I was experiencing, when I was pinning once a day, I would feel the rush of the hormone come on with a lot of intensity within the first 3 to 5 hours. Like really from within 10 minutes of pinning the Mint Ace, you feel it coming up in your body. You feel it very rapidly, and I would feel good. I would feel amped and animated for 5 to 6 hours, and then things would start to go downhill from there. By the 8-hour mark, I would be feeling very, very uncomfortable. I said this in the previous video, so again, I'm not going to just beat it to death. The feeling was exactly like the come down effect, and I can't even say the names because I keep getting my videos dinged. But anytime you're coming down off of any drug and you experience the come down effect, it makes you feel kind of wiry, kind of like disassociated a little bit, kind of tweaky, kind of strung out. That's what I was feeling basically every evening from about, if I pin Mint at noon, by 8 o'clock at a minimum, 9 o'clock, I was just starting to feel bad. My workouts in the gym were really getting bad. I didn't have any desire to go to the gym. I was really just hating the compound. If you've been following my channel at all this last month, you know that I've really had nothing but negative things to say about the Mint. The Mint has been taking a beating on my channel as having just caused no end of problems. So getting my estrogen to come down is making things substantially better. My appetite is coming back in a major way. So this is something else that I was blaming on other compounds. I thought the MK677 had just stopped working. And when I looked back in my log, at the time that I decided to take a break, or when I started feeling like the MK was not really doing its work anymore, coincidentally, that was about the time when my estrogen went through the roof. I always associated high estrogen with a desire to eat, but in me, it certainly is not causing that. It was really hammering my appetite. I had been stuck at 210 pounds in great shape. Like, I've had great looking 210. I've been very happy about the aesthetic of the 210 that I've been stuck at for a little over a week. But to be on all the gear that I'm on and not to see the scale moving, you know, is a sign of a major problem. And I'm very happy to report that today my weight has jumped up to 213, and I haven't even gotten in all my calories. So over the course of the last couple of days, the needle is on the move again, and I feel like I'm starting to fill out a little bit compared to where I was at 210. My hydration level, I don't know what was going on. I was very dehydrated, and yet I had no desire to. I was struggling to get fluids down. I was struggling to get food down, and I was just sort of hanging out in this no man's land at 210, basically just feeling miserable all day. The vast majority of the day, I just didn't feel good. Even on the come up of the MENT, it was very acute, and so I would go from a place of being kind of like, wow, this is intense, to, oh my God, I just fell off the cliff, and now like I'm staggering and I'm feeling miserable and I'm hating this come down effect. And I had gotten to the point where I just dreaded pinning it every morning. So in my body specifically, twice a day is the absolute minimum. I very possibly may go to pinning every 6 hours. The reason for that is, unless things stabilize over the course of the next few days, what I've been experiencing is if I pin MENT at like, say I've been getting up late, let's say I pin MENT at noon, by about 6:30 when I'm eating dinner with my family, we've been watching Game of Thrones. Like we've been going back through the entire series with my young son, with Paul. My 13-year-old son's never seen it. And so he's been watching it with us. We've been watching one episode a night during dinner. And I've been noticing every night around the 6 to 7 hour mark post-injection, I start feeling the come down effect. And so like when I decided to go to 2 injections a day, I would be like really looking forward to 8 o'clock getting here. There's been multiple nights when we were sitting there watching dinner, and it was just like, is it 8 o'clock yet? Is it 8 o'clock? When can I hurry up and get this injection? Because I know that within 10 minutes, 15 minutes of pinning it, all of that negative come down effect goes away. So the 2 injections a day have been better, but they still leave about an hour of discomfort in the middle of the day, and then in the evening, you know, if I pin it at say 8 o'clock, we've been going to bed really late, and so late in the evening, I will start feeling the come down effect again. And so what I'm thinking about doing is going to three times a day and pinning it every 6 hours, because it seems to be that I start to feel poorly around the 6.5 to 7 hour mark. So if I pin it every 6 hours, then I should be able to stabilize the levels even more and hopefully feel even better. I still continue to believe, and it's hard to point the finger at the MENT, because again, I am on quite a bit of gear right now. I feel like I've said this a million times, but since I can never know, if somebody new is coming to this video, let me be transparent in saying that currently I'm taking 500 milligrams of Test C, 400 milligrams of Primo E, 400 milligrams of Masteron E, 300 milligrams of Nandrolone decanoate, also known as Deca, 100 milligrams of Trenbolone E, and I'm currently taking 15 milligrams of MENT ACE per day. That's combined with a dose of MK677 at 25 milligrams a day, split into 2 independent oral doses. So that is the anabolic / ghrelin agonist that I'm currently using. As I said, I'm up to, I think I've taken about 5.5 milligrams of 8X this week. Another thing that I would like to report on, because I've never heard anybody say this, and this is now, I think, the second or maybe third time this has occurred to me. This could be game-changing information for a lot of you guys out there. So one of the things that I continuously see in the comments, no matter how many videos I make about the importance of controlling your estrogen, I just had another guy today tell me that he's on 700 milligrams of test and he has no side effects of high E2 and he doesn't need an AI. And I bet him $100 that if he goes and gets his E2 checked, I said, I bet you $100 if you take 700 milligrams of Test E and no AIs and no Primo and you go get your estrogen checked, I bet you $100 is twice the top end of the reference range. Guaranteed, without a doubt. I would bet my house that it's going to be that. So I've been trying to wrap my head around how it could be that just, I have lost count now of the number of guys who've come to me and said, man, thank you so much for inspiring me to go get my estrogen checked. You were right, it was high, I lowered it. I feel every one of the compounds that I'm using so much more. I feel so much more aggressive, so much more confident, so much more just general well-being. They look better, they feel better. It's just across the board reporting nothing but positive effects. And I couldn't understand how this is possible. How could somebody have prolonged periods of high estrogen level and not be destroyed by gyno? Well, it just happened to me. So when I got on the MENT, I had no gyno. I had no gyno at all. And then I got on the MENT and my estrogen went through the roof. The entire time my estrogen was on the climb, I never spotted a single sign of gyno. There was a couple of times where I did report, like my nipples feel a little bit puffy, they look a little bit off, but I kept saying there's no soreness, there's no itching, there's no knots behind the nipple, I don't have gyno. How could I possibly have high E2 if I don't have gyno? I'm not crying, I'm not sensitive, I'm not having all of the stereotypical signs of high estrogen. Well, what's been really remarkable to experience is as my estrogen has come down from twice the top end of the reference range to somewhere closer to normal, my gyno has suddenly sprouted out. I have lumps behind my nipples and they are sore to the touch. I don't know if you can see it currently in this video. I have gyno definitively on both sides. There's a lump behind both. The nipples are bigger around, and I know it's gross to sit there and look at. I have gyno. So what's interesting is as I started lowering my estrogen, I started experiencing signs of high estrogen at a certain level of total E2 in my system. So I am currently hypothesizing, I do not know why this would be. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe somebody else has had this experience. But in the past, when I have used D-ball and it caused my E2 to spike really high, I had the same experience. I never got gyno, but suddenly my estrogen was so high that it wrecked my appetite and it was actually causing vomiting. I made an entire video titled High E2 Turned Me Into a Pregnant Woman. You can search on my channel for that video. I might link it at the end of this video. And my estrogen shot up to 179 picograms per milliliter. I was throwing up every morning, but I had no other signs of typical high estrogen. I had no gyno. I don't recall having any extreme emotionality. And the same thing seems to have occurred this last time, almost as if there's like a band, there's like a range maybe where your E2 can be that it actually causes the gyno. So in my body, it seems that anything slightly above the reference range up to, 80 or so, if the range is 40, up to about 80, give or take, is where I seem to experience the most profound symptoms of gyno. Above that, and I haven't had the same problem. I cannot for the life of me understand how, as my E2 is declining, my gyno has gotten worse. The only thing I can imagine is that it seems to be more sensitive to a particular range of total estrogen in your system. And so that's something I'm continuing to try to battle. Is it possible that it's prolactin induced? Yes, I guess, but 4 days ago my prolactin was still below the bottom end of the range. So I don't think it's likely that what I'm experiencing is caused by prolactin. And again, as my estrogen levels have fallen, and my gyno has started to become more pronounced, the emotionality in me has come back in a major way. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you may have seen some pictures that my wife posted of my daughter and I dancing in our living room. My daughter decided to create a prom night. I guess she's been watching something on her tablet. She learned about prom, and so she wanted to have a prom night. And so she taught my wife into they both put dresses on, and honestly I was really kind of not interested in the whole thing. And I was in my bedroom watching the Cody Copa video, the Cody Copa interview with Tony Huge, and my wife was like, "Allie really wants you to come to prom night." And I was in my stringer tank. I was getting ready to go to the gym, and I went out there, and Allison said, "Daddy, can I dance with you?" And the second she put her arms around me, I totally fell apart. I mean, so if you see those pictures and I look really red in the face, it's because I was sobbing into my daughter's hair the whole time we were trying to slow dance. It was just the fucking sweetest thing in the world. And so all of a sudden, at this specific amount of estrogen that is slightly above the top end of the reference range, I'm experiencing the full gamut of high estrogen symptoms. I cannot for the life of me think why the level continuing to get higher and higher would cause the symptoms to subside. I had been under the illusion, or maybe the delusion, that the reason I had not been experiencing any gyno when my estrogen was more than twice the top end of the reference range was because the Masteron was offsetting it. Now we know the Masteron could not have been offsetting it because I have full-blown gyno right now. So clearly, the Masteron is not preventing the gyno. Clearly, I didn't have it when my estrogen was extremely high, and now that it's just above the top end of the range, it's back in full force. So I wonder if that's why so many guys are running around in the community saying, "I don't have any side effects." When my estrogen was super high, coincidentally, most of the guys who were coming back with their blood work after having gotten it done on my recommendation, most all of them have had very high E2. High E2 that was at or above 2 times the top end of the reference range. And none of them had symptoms. So maybe, possibly, that's the reason that so many men in our community think they don't have high estrogen, because they're like, "Well, I have no symptoms." And it's just that your estrogen is so high, in fact, that for whatever reason, it's not causing the typical symptoms that you experience if you, for example, get on a T cycle like with hormone replacement therapy. And so you don't have this super huge amount of E2, but it starts to climb slowly. That's exactly what happened to me. Both of the times that I've gotten gyno, or every time that I've gotten gyno, has been when I was just basically coming up. Like I was at 200, then I went to 500, then I increased a little bit. The E2 slowly climbed, and I started to get the gyno effect. But both of the times now that I've had rapid increase of estrogen, where it went from normal to way above normal, whether it was with the D-ball or the MENT, both times that it went up rapidly, I did not experience the same high estrogen side effects that I would in that apparent estrogen sweet spot. So again, this is total speculation. I have no idea if this is the case, but like I said, this is how my brain works. I'm constantly trying to figure out how all of this stuff is working in our bodies. When you've got so many guys who said, "I don't have symptoms, I don't have high E2, and 100% of them come back with high E2, clearly something's going on. Somehow we're all missing the symptoms. So if it is in fact that gyno doesn't represent at really high levels, that would be a causal factor in why so many men have high E2 and don't know it. So anyway, I don't want to make it a whole video about estrogen again, but when you're playing with a compound like MENT, that really is the name of the game. Me being able to make this work, the only way I'm going to be able to make this compound work in my cycle is if I can find a way to manage the estrogen. Pretty much 100% of the people who have run the compound and decided that it was not worth their time did so because they could not control their estrogen. I suspect it is going to continue to be difficult because now that I have a handle on it, all I want is more. And so when we're dealing with a 7-alpha-methyl estradiol that we can't test for, it puts you in a precarious state where I continue to believe that I'm basically at a point where intentionally crashing my estrogen is probably going to be the best way to go. So what I am going to do, as I mentioned I think in my last video, I'm going to start pulling my testosterone dose back so that I get the least amount of aromatization possible, so I can get the Arimidex dose down, find out what I need to do to either A, keep my estrogen in a sweet spot where I don't have gyno and I don't have broke D gain and I'm otherwise functioning normally, and then I can basically assume that is me dialed into the sweet spot. If I bring it down to a point where the gyno subsides, the D game returns, and I'm still able to connect with my wife emotionally, then I will have found a sweet spot. If I can do that, great. I am not holding my breath that's going to happen. I think that it is almost a guarantee that what will happen is that I'll end up going low. I have a hard time believing that I'm going to be able to magically, by feel, with compounds that don't act 100% immediately, I really doubt that I'm going to be able to bring my estrogen down from twice the top into the reference range and settle it into exactly the perfect number of testable E2 combined with the non-testable E2 to be able to be perfectly dialed into the sweet spot, when the sweet spot is about 20 picograms wide. I mean, this is taking a massive shot in the dark with no guidance at all. You know, we're sniping with no aimbot of any kind on a prayer, and it's a Hail Mary. There's just, the likelihood of that happening is, I would say, is about nil. So I suspect what is going to happen is my estrogen is going to fall until it crashes. And when that happens, rather than go through the misery of trying to take something out and add something back and tinker around again to, in the dark, find this 20 picogram range sweet spot, I'm just going to leave it crashed, and then I'm going to inject estradiol valerate at a dose very tiny, and then I can control, in a controlled manner, I can bring my exogenous estrogen up, and that will allow me to dial it in with accuracy. If it's basically crashed at zero, and the only thing I change is how much estrogen I put back, then I will have something that's totally within my control, and I can dial it into a sweet spot even though I'm in the dark, because I will be able to know this is right where, okay, bam, that's where everything lines up, and there won't be all of the variables. So again, this is all hypothetical. I don't know of anybody who's done this. I think Derek talked about it a long time ago, that he did a DECA only cycle and tried to use injectable estradiol. Maybe I should look that video up and find out why he didn't like it, because I think he did run that experiment. I will look that up after this video. But I just wanted to come back here and make another MENT video and let you guys know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I have been through hell and back trying to solve all of these problems, and it seems that at the worst, we've hit the peak and we're coming back down the other side. We're coming back down to something more functional. D game last night, again, was functional. It was very functional. I'm not calling it repaired. It's not repaired. But it's a hell of a lot better than it's been. And I hope that it continues to get better. Because damn, I mean, this has been a long time. She's a soldier. She's been riding with me for a while now. And so, but I'm committed to trying to conquer this thing. It's not going to conquer me. Right? It's not going to conquer me, is it?
Nothing has ever conquered you.
We're going to try to figure it out. I mean, you know, like, I'm not going to make any promises. This is a fucking tough horse to tame right here. Tough horse to break. Again, no matter how much you do, you are always poking around in the dark, and that is a lofty goal to try to wade through. The reason that I have some positivity about it is because if I effectively take all of the testosterone out of if I take all of the injectable testosterone out, then the only thing left to aromatize will be the HCG that I take and the DECA if I choose to leave it in. DECA aromatizes at a very small rate. It's like 20%, I think, that of testosterone. So you're not going to get a huge amount of aromatization out of the DECA, and the DECA being a long, stable ester, it's going to be a very dependable amount of aromatization in my estimation. So if I've got nothing but HCG and DECA and MENT, of course, which is going to be aromatizing. So if I take all the test out and I leave those three variables in, and my E2 is crashed, then we're stable because nothing else can upset the balance. So if all I have, if the only aromatizable compounds I have in my system are MENT, HCG, and DECA, and those three compounds in their set dosages are not enough to give me a stable concentration of estrogen, then I can do one of two things. I can add 5 milligrams at a time of MENT up to a certain point and hope that the MENT is able to produce enough 7-alpha-methyl estradiol to be physiological. That's option one. If for whatever reason I'm not comfortable increasing the MENT, then I will add in the injectable estradiol. And either way you slice it, have control of one variable that will be the determining factor. So whether it's the MENT that is the determining factor and everything else stays the same, or all three MENT, HCG, and DECA stay the same, and then the determining factor is estradiol, either way, I will have one basically knob to turn to try to dial this frequency in rather than all of this other crazy shit that there's just no way you're going to be able to account for. And in theory, if all of this works, I will need 0 Arimidex. So I won't be taking an AI. I can make John Jewett and all these guys happy. They're like, oh, AIs are the enemy. I take all the test out. I need no AI. I've got HCG, MENT, and DECA doing the aromatization game. If they can't get it done on their own, then we either up one of the doses or bring in the estradiol, and problem solved, right? That's the plan. We will see, it's like Mike Tyson said, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I've been punched in the dick quite hard by high estrogen and low prolactin. I have been massively injured during this experiment, but like I was saying in my rather heated video response to human ghrelin hormone, dude, I'm the test monkey here. Like, please don't do what I'm doing. If you guys want to try to follow after me, let me dial it in first, okay? Let me figure this out, and then I will publish the data saying these are the doses that I was able to get stable on. Because I'm telling you, man, if you decide to go down this road, whoo, you better have a support group behind you, and you better be willing to put up with a hell of a lot of misery. Because I feel like I am a lab rat that is just getting blasted with every different kind of crazy chemical known to man. And it's not always a good day around here. Thank God today and the last few days have been considerably better, which again is why I'm making this video. So there you have it. I'm almost out of time anyway. I appreciate everybody's continued support. I know you're probably getting tired of hearing about MENT, but I have got to conquer this beast so that I can look at myself in the mirror. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.